the controversy to me is something that is completely overblown. I I think a lot of it is manufactured drama, specifically set up and curated to get clicks and for a lot of outrage baiters online to rake in the cash. Because I have watched numerous interviews from Rachel Zegler, and other than maybe what might be considered to be a sarcastic and kind of arrogant attitude in her interviews, nothing she said to me was that controversial. And the reason for that is because I've heard other actresses involved with other Disney live action remakes say similar statements before. I saw it with the actresses who played Cinderella and Belle say the same kind of statements about how their film is different and it's not like the old one. And these princesses can stand on their own and they don't need a prince to save them. And they're modernized takes on these older stories. Nobody blew a gasket when these actresses were saying these statements back then, but for some reason, when Rachel Zegler says the same things, now it's like an atom bomb has been dropped. I don't understand that at all. I think it really has to do with the fact that she just became a target for a certain campaign. I really think that's what it is. They chose her. They could have chose anyone else. And that's the thing. It's like if you're gonna be this critical and this just unbelievably obsessed with this with what somebody has to say for a kids movie, why weren't you equally as obsessed the other times? Because you really don't care about it. That's why you only care about it when it starts raking in the cash and raking in views because people apparently like to see other people dunk on Rachel Zegler. It's not as fun, I guess, to see people dunking on the other actresses. And it doesn't stop with the Disney live action princesses. I mean, it goes all the way back to Emily Blunt talking about the original Mary Poppins being kind of creepy in interviews. I love Emily Blunt. She's one of my favorite actresses. I'm not going to try to uh, end her career or try to uh, hurl all kinds of insults and go after her and try to go after her jugular just because she said some statements about the original Mary Poppins and how she feels about the character. That's just me. And it's also incredibly absurd to me on another level because I can go all the way back to Twilight. I can go even farther back to interviews with Robert Pattinson about Twilight, where he is bashing the ever loving crap out of the Twilight novels in interviews before the film premiered in theaters. And all that was heard from the public at the time was crickets. So to me, it is. It's very overblown. It's manufactured drama for clicks. That's it's really what it is, 100%. And I think it's also very political driven, and I don't care about politics. I don't care about the actress's politics. I don't care who she voted for. I don't care about any of the political issues that she might believe in or not believe in. When it comes to a film, I am judging the film. When it comes to an actress, I am judging their performance. I'm not judging their opinions on politics. That does not matter to me. I think we are really getting to a point now where we are really putting way too much stock into people's opinions and their politics when it comes to discussing films, and I really don't like this at all. And I know some people say, well, she brought it on herself. I don't necessarily believe that because, in a lot of ways, there was already a target put on her back the moment that she was cast because of the simple fact that she's not a white actress. Why else did the Daily Wire Plus announce an adaptation of Snow White starring Brett Cooper that never got made and likely never will get made, other than to appeal to a certain particular base who was riled up based on the casting of Rachel Zegler as Snow White? I'm not saying that I personally agree with a lot of the thought process that Disney might have in terms of trying to be diverse, but at the same time, I did not really care whether or not she was white. It doesn't matter to me. And I have to admit that even though I do believe that Rachel already had a target on her back before she even started saying anything, she did not do herself any favors by how she worded her statements. I think the way that she said the things that she said came across as arrogant, it came across as entitled, it came across as disparaging to the original film, to Snow White, and she wasn't really saying a lot of positive things about it in that interview. But to give her a little bit of leeway, she was answering questions that were asked to her specifically about what makes this retelling more modernized and what makes it different than the 1937 film. So I think a lot of her responses were two questions that were asked to potentially provide responses that were in that area, that were in that particular vein. Like I mentioned earlier, this could have very well been some kind of PR speak that she was being fed by the studio, by Disney. But because of the way that she said these statements and because of the way that she didn't really think on the fly and try to soften the harsher critiques, so to speak, of the original Snow White, that was not a good first impression for a lot of people. And I think she could have done a better job when it comes to that. She tried to make up for it, but by that point, it was too late for people and they had already made up their minds. So, if anything, Rachel Zegler needs to get a better PR person, learn better PR, and I think she's definitely going to learn from this. And the claims of her career being over because of the way that she handled the criticism of her statements and the film's failure and some of the other things that she's been tied to or associated with or her freakouts online. I think those are really over the top, like a lot of the controversies surrounding Snow White, because she already has landed a major role in a Broadway show in Evita. That being said, I can see why some people were initially taken aback by her statements, but regardless, the reaction is still way, way, way overblown. It doesn't stop there because you also had the controversies with the dwarves, which is another thing that was manufactured rage bait. That photo that leaked online that showed what looked like the new seven dwarves with Snow White, that was not the seven dwarves. That was the bandits that were utilized a little bit in the film for a few scenes, or it was a bunch of stand-ins for a lighting shot. Because the actor who played Grumpy in this film, he was cast before that photo even leaked as Grumpy, as a dwarf. So there were always going to be seven dwarves. I have to admit, I bought into that too initially. But then I just did my research and no, that was fake. That was a bunch of BS. Just like Dinklage's statements about little people and how being cast as dwarves is backwards and whatever he was babbling on about. All the controversy associated with this film is just ridiculously overblown to me personally, because most people who aren't chronically online do not give two shits about what an actress says for a couple interviews for some other publications. They don't really care about that. They don't care about whether or not it's a woke adaptation of the source material. They don't give a shit about that either. They just want a good and entertaining movie. And sadly, Snow White is neither of those things. But it would have been neither of those things no matter what. It would have been neither of those things if any of these controversies weren't even a thing. So the whole idea that, oh, Rachel Zegler killed the movie, Rachel Zegler destroyed the film, Rachel Zegler is the reason why the film failed. No, the film was going to fail to begin with because people are tired of Disney live action remakes. The box office numbers reflect it. They've been going down for a couple years at least now. Lilo and Stitch now screwed things up, and now Disney might change their mind about stopping them altogether. Which, if that does happen, you have nothing but yourselves to blame because you went and saw it, and you were a big factor as to why that movie has made millions of dollars. Just like you were the problem when it comes to, oh, I got to relive my nostalgia with the Lion King remake and the Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast and all these other live action Disney remakes that made a buttload of money. Thankfully, though, this was not one of those films and it bombed. But it didn't bomb because of Rachel Zegler and some statements that she made online in a couple interviews or her politics. Because a lot of the audience, a lot of the people who would have wanted to see this movie, they don't really normally care about that stuff. Do you think the kids cared about any of that? Let alone knew about any of that? And if you ask me, Disney is the one that should be getting the brunt of the blame to begin with because they're the ones that made this movie. They're the ones that cast Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. They're the ones that did all of this. If the movie never got made, then none of this controversy would even exist in the first place.